Hi, my name is Bill Kohler, and this is my friend Ollie. And we're going to demonstrate for you an exercise which is the 1-2 punch in boxing, the jab and the cross hook. This is a challenging exercise because of its complications, made especially challenging for Ollie because he has Parkinson's. But Ollie fights Parkinson's like he has fought everything in his life. He was a warrant officer in the Navy and a sergeant, and he was a lieutenant in the Cleveland Fire Department for many years. We're going to step back now and show you the 1-2 punch, and then I'm going to talk about its various elements in terms of body movements, and then we're going to demonstrate each of those body movements to you. So let's step back, Ollie, and we'll demonstrate to them the 1-2 punch. And you remember, of course, and he's been more actively boxing recently than I have been, that this is the jab with a step and a cross hook with another step. And so why don't you give me your jab, Ollie? Jab, cross hook, jab, cross hook. And then add the steps this time so that when you jab, you make a step, which gives you momentum. And then when you make your cross hook, you also jab, you also step, and that gives you additional momentum and power. So jab and step, and cross hook and step. Jab and step, cross hook and step. So that's a quick illustration of the basic exercise, which we're going to show later, actually more actively in a succession of walking jabs and cross hooks that we practice from time to time in order to help Ollie with all of his challenges. Now, the symptoms of Parkinson's are multitudinous, but the basic symptoms can include stiffness, slowing up, and Ollie has both of those symptoms. And boxing is a wonderful exercise to counteract those symptoms and others, because it's basically the opposite of Parkinson's. Instead of stiffness, you're practicing movement, and instead of slowing up, you're practicing speed. And you also gain strength in the interim and fundamentally balance. And so boxing is a coordinated effort on your feet with footwork, which we're going to demonstrate throughout this video. And balance, therefore, is key to it. And it's great for Parkinson's, people with Parkinson's. Now, let's talk about that a little bit. Boxing and people with Parkinson's. Actually, the academic literature found, not too long ago, that boxing is a wonderful activity for people with Parkinson's. And so nationally, there are certified programs that coach people with Parkinson's in boxing. And Ollie is part of that through Rock Steady Boxing in Cleveland, which is essentially a volunteer affiliate of Rock Steady Boxing certification program, which is based in Indianapolis. And so the exercise that we're demonstrating, the 1-2 punch with the footwork, is a qualified exercise for people with Parkinson's. Firstly, we're going to do a little bit of a warm-up with a walk and then some dynamic stretching exercises. So, Ollie, let's go for a little bit of a walk here for 5 minutes or so, and then we'll move on to static exercise, dynamic exercises. For dynamic stretching and warm-up, we're going to start with some regular arm spins like this, forward about 10 times, and then backward about 10 times. And then we'll twist several times. And then we'll hop. Good. And then we'll stretch a little bit like this and like and that's sufficient to get us going. Now, the exercises that we're going to do basically reflect the subsidiary components of the 1-2 punch. And they include, of course, making 2 fists like this with both your fists at your face, a jab with your left hand, bring your fist back to your face, while at the same time you step forward and push off with your back foot. And then a cross punch with your right hand, bring your fist back to your face, while at the same time you're stepping forward with your right foot and twisting your foot and your full body. To explain this in a little bit of more kinesiological detail, we have the left and right fist to your face, and this reflects elbow sagittal flexion and shoulder sagittal flexion. Then we jab with your left hand, and that involves the same, as well as shoulder frontal adduction, shoulder transverse internal and external rotation, with elbow transverse extension and a bit of sagittal extension as well. And at the same time, as I said, you're stepping forward with your lead foot and pushing off with your back foot, and that involves an ankle sagittal inversion and eversion ultimately. So then after that, you have your cross punch with the right hand, and that again involves elbow sagittal flexion, shoulder sagittal flexion, and shoulder frontal adduction, shoulder transverse internal and external rotation, and elbow transverse extension with less sagittal angle than with the jab. So like this. And at the same time as you're doing that, you step forward with your right foot and twist the foot and the body. And so this involves ankle frontal inversion and eversion. So we did our dynamic stretching, and now we're going to do some exercises that relate to those elements of this complex exercise. And for footwork, in order here, and I think the proper order of priority, we're going to do side lunges and side hops, because that will continue to elevate Ollie's heart rate and add to his muscular viscosity so that he is more limber. And then we're going to move on to punches, exercises which involve push-ups and medicine ball work. And then for his shoulders, we're going to do some isometric exercises involving an isometric plank, an isometric left fist push down like this, and a right foot push down like this. And that's in consideration of the fact that while you're boxing, you're always holding your arms up like this. So you have to develop some endurance capability for doing that, and they're held steadily. It's not a movement. There are long periods of time, or substantial periods of time throughout a very short round when you're always like this. And so you need to develop that capacity. And then less of what we do, but ultimately something that Ollie wants to do is to adequately twist when he makes his cross hook, which involves twisting the hip and the core. And for that, we're going to practice one-arm medicine ball throws. And after all is said and done, we'll demonstrate the full exercise succession. And then, of course, we would do some static stretching as warm down. Now we're moving on to the side lunges and the side hops. But firstly, I want to explain how these are relevant. Again, the 1-2 punch, which Ollie and I are going to demonstrate right now, is 1, 2. So give me your 1-2 punch, Ollie. Include your foot very close. 1, 2. Step with this foot. Step 2. Okay. Jab 2. And then get the steps in. Jab 2. And So what we want to do next, you can see that Ollie has some difficulty with coordination, and that is characteristic of his symptoms in Parkinson's. And that's what we want to conquer here by breaking this down into elements, into pieces, and strengthening each piece and then bringing them together, which I hope we can demonstrate some of at the end. So the footwork is particularly difficult for Ollie when he's focusing on his jabs. And so we want to get some footwork exercises in. And first and foremost, that involves simple side lunges like this. And Ollie, if you continue that, I'll rotate the camera a little bit. So step, 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 step. Okay, and then back. Step, 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 step. And then putting the camera down again, we're going to try to add a little bit of a hop there, because of course that's what we're doing in boxing. You push off and then twist. And so with the jab in particular, there's a bit of a push off like that. What we want to practice now is a side hop like this, so that Ollie can get some practice hopping here on his right side, from his right side, and then we'll come back. So let's do that, Ollie. Go ahead, hop, 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 and then back. Hop, 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 hop. Okay, good. Now, under normal circumstances, we would practice this several times, and then each time I would bring Ollie's attention to the specificity exercises, or the specifics of the exercise that relate to boxing. So the hop, and over the course of a few sets of this, he becomes more adept each time, and he has become more adept over the course of several months of doing this. So those are our footwork exercises, and we're going to move on in a moment here to the next element to demonstrate to you. Now, I mentioned that for the jab and the hook, the shoulders and all of those planes of movement and muscle actions are important. And so one of the subsidiary exercises that we want to practice is with the medicine ball, and it's a medicine ball throw. And then we're going to do some push-ups. So Ollie has an 8-pound medicine ball here, and I'm going to step back, and he's going to step forward so that he's in the camera's line of vision. And then he's going to toss this to me repeatedly as far as he can. So 1. Good. And you can see that if you think back to the jab and the hook, he's beginning to practice those exercises. And give me another, Ollie. Thank you. I have to step back each time further than when he does this, because he gets better and better as we move up here. Again. Okay, good. And then Ollie, hold it this time symmetrically, and hold your body symmetrically. So this foot back, just to even things out. Okay? And then give me everything you've got. Great. And we'll do one more, and see how quick you can do it. Great. That was the best one yet. So there's that. Thank you, Ollie. And then we would do a set of push-ups. And firstly, I'm going to recommend that we do against the wall push-ups for something of a ballistic motion for Ollie, in that he can push off the wall in a way better than he can on the ground, although we're going to do that, and get some ballistic power exercise in order to practice that. So Ollie, why don't you come over here, if you would please, and then give us 6 good push-ups like that, and to the extent that you can, push back to propel yourself backwards in a kind of a ballistic movement. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then let's try something else. Come forward, one big foot step. Yeah, both feet. And then lean against the wall again. And let's try that angle instead. So give me 6 more. 1, hard as you can. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. And then more of a gravity-oriented exercise. We're going to do a basic push-up right now. Ollie, if you could demonstrate that. Good. 1. Great. 2, 3. Great. 4, 5. One more. 6. That's fantastic. Great. And so here we are, working his shoulders for the jab and the right hook, and we're going to move on to the next element now. Okay, we're still concentrating on the shoulders, but you remember that I mentioned that throughout practice and throughout each round in a match, a boxer is holding their arms up like this. So they need to become accustomed to the muscle lack of action, but the kind of the isometric hold that is occurring as they're holding their shoulders up so that they don't fatigue. Now, one way that boxers do this is by holding weights in their hands, and then they may punch, or they may just hold the weights in their hand for a period of time. What Ollie and I have developed is a couple of specialty isometric exercises, and they are left side and right side fist hold down and push-ups like this. So that for normally 60 seconds here, which is building muscular endurance, we're pushing up with our fist, and that exerts the shoulder quite significantly while we push down with our other hand. We're not going to do this for a full 60 seconds, but you get the idea now. And we'll do this repeatedly to strengthen this part of the body. And then we would switch over to the other side and do several repetitions of this. Push down with the left hand in this case, and pushing up with the right fist. And this is actually quite significant exercise for anybody, and it's really effective. Now, the other thing of an isometric orientation that we're going to do is a plank. And so we just did push-ups, which on the floor, which Ollie was very good at. And next we're going to have you get down on the floor again and just hold yourself up, either on your elbows or by your hands for a steady, 30 seconds or so. Good. Wow, we moved right into that. Now, this of course is strengthening Ollie's entire body, including his core, which is fundamental to so many sports. And of course also, you can see the positioning of his hands, or his arms rather. This is helping his shoulders, I think, in a way that assists him in the continuous exercise of holding fists up while boxing. That's great, Ollie. Wow, thanks. Okay, so I mentioned how important the twist of the hips and the foot is in making the right hook during the 1-2 punch. And that would be like this. If I were to get into my fighting stance like this, then I would have the jab and then the hook, and I need to open my hip, twist it, and twist my whole torso like this. This is something that Ollie and I don't typically practice with an emphasis on in this exercise, but we want to get to that. And so that's one reason why the exercise that we're going to do here right now with the medicine ball is so important to his progression. And all we're going to do is he has an 8-pound medicine ball again, and he's going to twist back and forth like this. And while he does that, I'm going to actually hold on to this and give him a little bit of stress at the end and make sure at the same time that he's completing his movement, which he is, so I don't actually need to do that. But give us about a dozen more of those, Ollie, and you can see how similar, with specificity in mind, this twist is to the twist that you have to have in boxing. And you can see how even for a competitive boxer, this kind of an exercise would be important to them. Okay, real good. So next, we're going to do some static stretching as a warm down. That's actually the end of our exercise routine, and then I do want to demonstrate the full exercise sequence that we run through, which is a stepping exercise, doing 1-2 punch over and over again. But for present purposes, we would normally do some static stretching, and that would involve reaching up. And this isn't, of course, predefined each and every time, and some of it, of course, is what feels good. And then to the side, and then to the other side, and then with balance in mind, we can attempt this, but 1 foot up like this, and Ollie, you can hold my shoulder when you do that, and flex your leg, or I can do it for you. Good. And then do the other one, and I'll come to the other side so you can do that. Real good. And then we would probably do some additional static stretches, but I want to move on now to our exercise sequence. Now Ollie's going to demonstrate the exercise in its full sequence, which once again is a 1-2 punch, stepping each time and stepping forward, and then stepping forward again with a 1-2 punch, and stepping forward again with a 1-2 punch. And we'll usually do this for about 30 feet, and then head in the other direction and do that several times. We're going to do this right now for about 20 feet as we step back from the camera. And Ollie, give me your 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Good. Now we'll turn around. Okay, great. Now, that's a demonstration of our exercise, and over time, we found that Ollie's been able to get better at this each time, and we found that Ollie improves actually during the course of individual training sessions, which is not unexpected because the mental coordination kicks into gear, and he's able then to pull everything together, and he limbers up, and he's able to make his different moves in that. Now, one of the fun things we do sometimes, although Ollie doesn't have his gloves on right now, is that I basically let him beat up on me at the end of a session. So in the final clip here, we're going to demonstrate that little exercise just for the fun of it. Thanks, everybody. Here we go. Harder, harder. Okay, enough. All right. I don't want to meet him in the alley. Thanks, everybody. Bye.